Good evening. It's a special edition today of Live Hip Hop Daily and These Urban Times presents Sideline Stories. We're tuned in live right now. I'm your host, Terrell Thomas.
And I'm Brandon Triche.
And once again, we got to give a big shout out to tonight's producer, Mr. J Black in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, it's a lot going on in the NBA today, so we'll have to start off today's show with the big story in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard and DeMar DeRozan. Now, we've all been wondering where will Kawhi Leonard end up. We know he set out last season due to injury with the San Antonio Spurs.
Right.
There was a lot of inquiry in the air about him possibly being a new member of the Los Angeles Lakers, possibly going to the Philadelphia 76ers, or even the Boston Celtics. But I can truly say I don't think anyone's seen this coming. Earlier today, reports hit the air that Kawhi Leonard, along with Danny Green, will be traded for who?
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan. The Toronto Raptors took a big gamble on picking up DeMar DeRozan.
Big one.
So we'll start the show with that right there. Splash all across the NBA today. And, it was quite dope, I must say. Players were reacting. I know you mentioned DeMar kind of gave us a hint via social media.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little about what you've seen from him recently.
It's kind of funny, waking up, check your phone. It's breaking. The Raptors and Spurs in imminent talks for DeMar and Kawhi. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? So, first thing you do, you'll check your Instagram, and you see his story, and you see it kind of venting. I was like, okay, so he must have found out about this last night, and that's why prompted to him to have a little IG irate, I guess.
Talking about folks not being loyal,
not being
loyalty.
loyal, and y'all still understand what's going on. So it's kind of, I felt sorry for him a little bit because after they just talked to you talked to the team 3 weeks ago, and they're not gonna trade you. You're not in trade talks. Y'all probably looking forward to the future, how to build a team up, and then 3 weeks later, you get traded.
We kind of were in a similar situation. I fell asleep late last night. It was pretty much about 5:30 this morning. Woke up about 7:30 to help get the kids ready for school. And, I had like 60 messages. And folks are like, is Kawhi really getting traded? Is Kawhi really getting traded? So
right.
I started hitting some folks up to see what was going on. And the news was brought to me, hey, Kawhi's pretty much out of here. And it's funny, got to give a big shout out to some of our fellow sports markets out there, the Bleacher Reports, the ESPN, because they gave a young player a lot of love today. So
you shining.
No, we shining. It made me feel good today.
Man got big news today.
Got to give a big shout out as always to my man Lou Williams. Lou Williams is a good friend of ours, and
yes, sir,
I learned a lot about the NBA game from Lou. I must say, I've always known a lot about basketball, but he's opened my eyes to a lot of things about the business side of the NBA. Exactly. So big ups and much love to Lou Williams, the sixth man of the year.
Sixth man.
So I saw him on Twitter pretty much saying, wow, I know they didn't do my man like that.
Snaked him.
So I reached out, via Twitter. I'm like, well, how did you feel about it? And he pretty much let it be known. He's like, man, I'm hurt, and it's funny. There are plenty of people who are in the Toronto organization who can speak on the situation, but Lou Williams can definitely give us a great example of the situation. He played for the Raptors for some time. He played with DeMar DeRozan.
Won 6 men with them.
Won 6 men with them, exactly.
Yep.
The city pretty much adopted him. We all know about Drake's song, 6 Man. Drake, the brand ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, who, embraced Lou Williams as much as the hip-hop and sports culture does. But that caught my eye in itself, just for players' reactions. We saw Isaiah Thomas reaching out, saying, y'all can learn from my story. My story in itself. For those who don't know about his story, Isaiah Thomas was once an MVP candidate with the Boston Celtics. He played under tragedy, losing the life of his sister and injury, having a hip injury, looking to try to get the Celtics to the finals. And what do?
Get him up out of here.
Get him up out of here, letting us know that is just a business. So, that was kind of funny, as I mentioned, to see Lou reaching out, and responding. And people have been talking to us about it all day. Folks have been saying, it's a business. Get over it.
It's a cold
Folks
world.
have been atting Lou, hey, Lou, well, they did the same to you. I saw some tweets coming our way saying, hey, he couldn't beat the best player in the world. What do you expect?
He still can't beat him.
He's folded like a lawn chair. And you were saying that, like, he can't avoid. LeBron is now the newest member of the Los Angeles Lakers. And where does DeMar end up?
In San Antonio in the West.
San Antonio in the West. So this has got me wondering and got me to ask. I really want to know, what do you think the Raptors' chances are in the East now? Kyle Lowry is still there. Mm-hmm. Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, we have to see what his performance would be like as a superstar. One of the best 3 possible players in the NBA.
Right.
Definitely one of the best 2-way players as far as offense and defense is concerned. So many experts are looking at this as if, you trade a star or an all-star in DeMar DeRozan to get a superstar in Kawhi Leonard, Finals MVP.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? And where do you think the Raptors stand this season in the East?
Even without doing the trade, they'll probably still been top 3 in the East. But getting Kawhi, now they may be top 2 fighting with Boston. You still got Philadelphia coming up in the ranks. But it's going to be very interesting because now you got somebody who don't want to be there, but he also has something to prove. So he still has to come out there and perform to let everybody know, like, I'm still Kawhi Leonard. I'm still the Claw. So I'm worthy of the Supermax contract, even though he can't get it anymore since he got traded. So it's going to be very interesting. Now see how Kyle Lowry's going to react. And playing how they gonna try to jail.
Those 2 best friends.
Because him and DeMar were best friends, and now you trade his best friend away. So now it's kind of like, all right. So now is it loyalty or is it just the business aspect, or we always go back playing for ourselves and not playing playing as one? Because we already see what they did. DeMar should not be surprised by that either. The loyalty aspect. They they fired coach of the year away with Dwayne Casey, and now they just won coach of the year. So it's crazy.
If we look at it stat wise, Kawhi Leonard over time, as we mentioned, Finals MVP, he averages 16 points per game. I actually thought that would be a little bit higher, but he just recently, over the last few years, actually got the reins to the Spurs. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili were there for a long time. So career-wise, Kawhi Leonard averages 16 points, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds a game. Now, if we look at DeMar DeRozan's numbers, he averages 23 points a game. He's coming off of a season last year in which he averaged 23 points, 22 points in the postseason when the Raptors were in the playoff. He also averages 5 assists a game and 3 rebounds. So as we see right there, the Spurs are already getting a jump on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I don't think as talented as DeMar DeRozan is offensively, he's not the player. No, he's not the player that Kawhi Leonard is on the defensive side of the ball. And now with LeBron, as we mentioned, no longer being in the East and being on the West with the Lakers, the East is pretty much wide open. I know a lot of us think we'll see a lot of growth in the Sixers and the Celtics, and there'll be a few teams, possibly the Washington Wizards, with the additions they made, and already having Bradley Beal and John Wall, and then picking up Dwight Howard and Jeff Green. But this has to put the Raptors in the mix. But let's talk about DeMar. What do you think DeMar's impact will now be on the Spurs? The West is already loaded. I'm wondering, no knock on his game, will he be an all-star in the West that's full of guards already? Now, under the tutelage of a coach Popovich, we may see some things in DeMar DeRozan's games we've never seen before. But what do you think the Spurs are getting with DeMar DeRozan, who's coming into this season with a chip on his shoulder?
That's what it is. You just say he's coming off pissed off. So now he's coming off like, I got pushed away. I got put, you know what I'm saying, thrown to the wolves, pushed out the house for all this, for lack of better terms. So now you got a pissed off DeMar DeRozan who has a chip on his shoulder, who could probably still expand his game. He shot the 3 better last year, better than he ever shot it. So now you go into a team that plays, that moves the ball. He won't be so ball dominant like he wasn't in Toronto. So now you have more fluid offense, more player movement, and we all know Pop can get the best out of guys. So he also has a solidified big man who can actually score, not a Serge Ibaka who's trying to be big and want to shoot threes all the time. So I think he'll show a lot more to people, to his game, than a lot of people have seen, because a lot of people really don't watch Toronto games besides they're playing LeBron and getting swept. But now you're gonna be in a bigger stage with the Spurs, and you got Pop. So I think he'll come in, with a focused mind, might come with that dog mentality now, and his game might expand.
I think this will be one of the best seasons we ever see in the NBA.
So. Yeah.
And the reason that I say this is because of now the addition of DeMar DeRozan to the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of people in the NBA, a lot of players have said on record, they don't play until the postseason. We know LeBron has cruised throughout the regular season in the Eastern Conference. We know that the Warriors have cruised. You see teams that are hungry like the Rockets, who every game matters. But now every game truly matters.
In the West.
And in the East as well, though, because it's up for grabs. So, anybody... We may, folks might think, just for instance, let's say the Brooklyn Nets. Let's throw the Nets out there. They may say, hey, the Nets don't have a chance to make it. But with LeBron no longer being in the East, things are going to shake up now. We know that it'll still be heavy at the top. That's obvious. We still know that Boston will be Boston. Now that Philadelphia's in the mix, Philadelphia will be Philadelphia.
Right.
We've thrown Washington's name out there in Toronto for sure.
Milwaukee.
But teams like the Milwaukees, the Miami. Thank you. I couldn't get them off. Maybe even a Charlotte. You know, we don't know what some of these teams who are in the bottom of the East, what they may do and how they may. So it's like every game on each side will now matter. You know, they will really matter.
The Cavs too.
The Cavs too. We don't know. I mean, they got the young boy Colin Sexton out there. They still have key players coming back. J.R. Smith will still be there. Kevin Love will still be there. They just re-signed Richard Jefferson. So the East will be up for grabs just like the West, you know. Although I do believe the Warriors will host the trophy one more time. That's not for, you know, LeBron is out there. And that's, you know, regardless of your opinions out there on LeBron James, one of the best players to ever do it, playing with Magic Johnson now and that young Laker team, we don't know what they may do. Because quite honestly, I will say on paper, I think the Lakers can take the Warriors. I really do. I think the Lakers can take the Warriors just on paper as it is right now. They have to gel, but I'm a huge fan of Brandon Ingram. I'm a huge fan of Lonzo Ball. We know the type of player that Lance Stevenson is. When he's in the zone, he's in the zone. And he can play phenomenal defense. JaVale McGee knows that locker room. I think that's one of the reasons why Magic Johnson brought him on. So, you know, it'll just be interesting to see what actually goes on. But what would Kawhi's impact be? You know, there have been rumors out there that Kawhi does not want to be in Toronto, that he'll risk sitting out again. I don't see that. But could we see an all-star / MVP performance from Kawhi? What type? They have a new coach out there now, Nick Nurse, no longer Dwayne Casey, as we mentioned. So we don't, you know, it's a first-year coach out there. It won't be Coach Popovich. I don't know. We don't know what type of system Mr. Nurse will be running out in Toronto. What do you think Kawhi's impact would be on the Raptors?
So, first of all, he can't sit out because you gonna have a whole 2 years of sitting out. Basically, you only played 9 games, so I think he has to come out, show that he's still Kawhi Leonard, and you know what I'm saying, he can show he's the best player in the East. And we got the Joel Embiid.
Is he? Do you believe he's the best player in the East?
Coming to the East now, I think he. That's a good question. I mean, 'cause you still got Giannis, Joel, Kyrie,
the Rookie of the Year, Ben Simmons.
It's like, if he's not the best player in the East, he's top 2.
Okay.
So it depends who you want to pick. If you want to go with a big man, or you want to go with a guard or a forward. So I think he has to come in and show that he can still stay healthy, and if he can flourish in another system, not being on the pop. Cause we've seen players in the past that's looked great in San Antonio, and then went other places and have not looked so great. So I don't know if it's the pop system or was it really Kawhi, because that's. People haven't thought about that either. They talk about Kawhi being a great player, but we all know it's a system. So is he great outside the system or not? So that's, I mean, also can he gel with a headstrong point guard as Kyle Lowry? Because he had Tony Parker, but Tony Parker's personality is not like Kyle Lowry's at all. So we could definitely see how they'll gel. It's gonna take a while, and I want to see if we can see a different personality than Kawhi. Like, at least talk. Don't sit back there and just let your uncle do all the talking for you and you just go out there hoop. Like, we need to see, like, have a personality, because if you doing this 1 year stint, people at least know Kawhi if you going to LA, because that's a whole totality. That's a whole different totality in itself, going to LA. So you can't be back there just sitting there chilling and then like, I don't want to be.
That's who he is.
I know that's who he is, but he's like, it's the, all right, I don't want to be here. I'm just going to do what I got to do. And you know what I'm saying? It's he can't do that.
It's a big season for Kawhi.
I think it's his biggest season of his career.
We know that he has a shoe contract currently on the table with Jordan, but it's about 4 years. I believe it's about $20 million in total. You know, so that's not a lot of money. Pretty much $5 million a year. But that's why I think like this may be a chance for him to break out and really show, as you just mentioned a moment ago, his personality. If he wants the big bag, if he wants that next season, the free agency market gets huge. You'll have your Isaiah Thomas, your Boogie Cousins. You'll have your Klay Thomas, Jimmy Butler. Kyrie Irving. There's several players, notable players in the NBA, all-star talent in the NBA who will be up for grabs in free agency next year. So if Kawhi wants to keep his name at the top of that list, he's going to have a great performance. Something I also think is ironic, man. These are two cats right here, both from California, from the Los Angeles area.
Get traded for each other.
And think about this. Kawhi Leonard has spoke on wanting to be a member of the Lakers. He didn't end up there. DeMar DeRozan just recently signed a new deal with the Toronto Raptors when he had a chance to go back to Los Angeles and play with the Lakers. And look how this ends up right now. It just shows, it goes to show, you know, some people kill Kevin Durant. And I was one of the first people to say, you know, they're like, oh, he went to a team that just beat him, blah, blah. You know, I think that fans have to get, they got to get real with themselves. You know, when players make decisions for themselves, or they're disloyal, or they're snakes. But when teams do it and organizations do it, it's business. Come on, we got to be better with that, people. We got to be better with that. So I want to know now, man. What's next for Kawhi? Will he stay or will he leave? As I mentioned, rumors are already flying that he does not want to play in Toronto. Being a California native, some of the rumors were that he wanted to be in a warm weather city. And granted, in the NBA, 82 games are traveling all across the nation, but 41 of those games are at home. So if he did go to a Philly, a Boston, or now Toronto, it's going to be cold in October through March, for real. You know, it's going to be cold. Where will Kawhi Leonard end up in 2019 offseason? Does he take his talents, as we say, the key phrase now, does he take his talents to join Magic and LeBron in LA? I know you were saying before the show started possibly the Clippers. I mean, I don't see that. You know, growing up, I know Kawhi Leonard was not a Clippers fan. He was a big Laker fan. Right. But Jerry West is still looking to make, he has to make a mark as a member of the Clippers brass. So you know, who knows? He might throw the bag at Kawhi Leonard. Where does he go? Does he stay in the East? Does he stay with Toronto, or does he go to another team next season?
So if he wants to do, you know, the joint team like everybody else doing, we all know he go to LA. Me personally, I think it's set in stone. He's not staying, because
you don't think there's anything the Raptors organization can do to
everybody want to throw the Paul George scenario.
That's exactly.
Paul George, you know, he didn't want to go to Oklahoma City, but he went there and he loved it and all this type of thing. But I always tell people, I said, at the end of the day, Paul George was country. I said, yeah, he might be from California, but Paul, if you know Paul George, I've seen his Instagram and all this stuff. Paul George loves to fish. He loves to fish and bass and all this. So I've always said I wasn't surprised he stayed. But Kawhi Leonard instance, what outside of DeMar DeRozan, what big free agent ever went to or stayed in Toronto? T-Mac had a chance. He forced his way out and went back home to Orlando. Vince Carter, the other franchise player, he was good. He was the face of the franchise for the Raptors. Forced his way out and went to New Jersey. Then Bosh, he was supposed to be the second coming of Vince. Forced his way to Miami, even though he was a free agent. So they have a trend of their franchise players being there, or they end up leaving, or in this case now they traded them. So if I'm Kawhi, I'm thinking like, you just told this man y'all weren't gonna trade him, and now you traded him. I don't want to be here, so I'm gonna think y'all not gonna do the same thing to me in a few years. Do
you think this sabotages the Raptors' chances of getting a notable free agent in the future?
Yes.
That's done. That's a wrap
because. Like I said, DeMar didn't go out there, they drafted him. So that's different. He had to go.
And then he decided to resign.
He decided to resign.
Kyle Lowry as well, because he could have hit the free agency block, and a lot of teams were looking at Kyle.
Yeah, but then he's not really the superstar. He's a good player, but he's not the
all-star talent.
He's all-star talent, but he's not the the LeBron James.
I dig it.
So also, I don't think they'll ever get one of those kind of free agents, because one, nobody will deal with customs all the time. And living up there and taxes up there in Canada is a whole different ballgame than being living in the States.
DeMar will love that once he gets his first check from the Spurs. Tax-free state.
Tax-free state. And now your family come from L.A., that's a shorter trip, come from California to Texas, and they want to work by going through customs and all this type of stuff. So I think it'd be awkward for him for a little bit, being in Toronto for the last 8 years of his career, 9 years of his career, now he's going to San Antonio. It's going to be a culture shock for him. But I think, going long term, I think he might like the deal.
So let me ask you this. So one thing that struck my eye, and I pulled the question up earlier today on Instagram, on These Urban Times, as well as my personal Instagram. Check that out, Eldorado2452. Shameless plug. Some of DeMar DeRozan's former teammates, DeMar Carroll, another gentleman that we're really good with, that was once here with the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes, sir.
Also Terrence Ross, high flyer, slam dunker, Orlando Magic star.
Drafted by the Raptors, left.
Both of those gentlemen made it be known that, hey, the Raptors may have done DeMar bad, but he deserves a statue in Toronto.
I mean,
so what I'm wondering, and it's been a mixed review. You know, you've had other players in the NBA agreeing. I've seen some fans saying, "Ha, hell no, how can you?" So what I want to know is this: does he deserve a statue? And is he the greatest Raptor ever? You have Kyle Lowry, you have DeMar DeRozan, you have Vince Carter, and you have Chris Bosh. And I'm going to throw some numbers at you really quickly. As we mentioned, DeMar DeRozan averages 23 points in his career. He averages 23 points pretty much a season. Vince Carter only averages 19 points a season. And then his peak with the Toronto Raptors, this was the 2000 and 2001 season, he averaged 27 points.
That's when Vince was going crazy.
That's 3 years into his career. His rookie year, he averaged 18. Second year, 25. Third year in the league, it was 27 points.
He's going crazy.
Chris Bosh, who in my opinion is a future Hall of Famer.
He is.
And I think if he wasn't, you know, he has heart issues, of course, right now. He's looking to find a way to maybe come back in the NBA. In the peak of his career with the Toronto Raptors, he averaged 24 points, That was the 2009-2010 season, the year before he went into free agency. So, of course, he was going for all the marbles.
Yeah,
up until that, he averaged 22 points a season. He went from 2005 to 2009, averaging pretty much the same, 22.3 points a season. Who's the greatest Raptor ever? When you look at the numbers, DeMar DeRozan, statistically, you know, we can say, but they get to the playoffs, unfortunately for DeMar. He run into that train that we know is LeBron James, and it hasn't ended well for him. Vince Carter, as we've seen, he took the team once to the Eastern Conference Finals, playing AI and them.
It was semis. They even looked. It was
semis. Playing epic series. I believe it went 7 games, if I'm not mistaken. 7-game series against the 76ers, who moved on to the finals that year to play the LA Lakers. Chris Bosh was someone who kind of rejuvenated or revived the Toronto Raptors franchise after, as you mentioned, the loss of T-Mac and the loss of Vince Carter. So does DeMar DeRozan deserve a statue? Was that really far-fetched for them to say that?
I mean, it wasn't, because one is granted the organization can do what they want to. So, and also, I mean, if you think about it longevity-wise, he did stay the longest out of all of them. T-Mac was only there 3 years he left. Vince was there 6 years left. Bosh was there 5 years and left. So longevity-wise, he stayed the longest, and he's a franchise leader in points and franchise leader in pretty much every category you think of, probably outside of assists. But for lack of a better term, he is Toronto. I mean, everybody thinks about Vince Carter. Our generation thinks of Vince Carter, but a lot of people,
highlight.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Vince Sandy, but today's generation will think of DeMar as being in Toronto. So it won't be far-fetched of him getting a statue. I don't see it happening. But, I mean, who say down the line they mend fences, he ended up going back to the whole fairy tale story.
Well, they at least retire his jersey.
He's definitely getting his jersey retired. He has to, because they didn't. They're going to retire Vince Carter's jersey whenever he gets finished playing, whatever it is. They go retire his jersey. So if you go retire Vince, you got to retire DeMar's jersey. So, you know, statue won't be too far-fetched, but I'll be surprised, possibly, because everybody don't have statues around in the NBA. I mean, it's Dominique, Jordan, Shaq, Magic, Elgin Baylor. That's it. Karl Malone probably getting a statue soon if you don't have it already. So,
no, Karl Malone and
John Johnson, they both
got statues out there.
So it's less than 10. So with those two, I mean, everybody can get statues, but I mean, it won't be far-fetched. Like I said, the organization can do what they want to do. So
I agree, it's not far-fetched, and they may try to find a way to, you know, rekindle and save face to an extent. You know, we could possibly end up seeing him get a statue quicker than anyone else, because they'll need to do something to try to say we're sorry, thank you. You know, because it is a business. But if they truly, as he's saying, said to this man's face, hey, we're not trading you Monday night per se, and then Tuesday night you get the call that you're being traded on Wednesday, business or not, you know, you could be up front and let me know, hey man, thanks for your service, thank you for what you've done.
But at least we're looking.
But yeah, we're looking.
We're looking.
But the blind side, your franchise player, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So as we mentioned, DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard are both on the move right now. The Spurs are sending Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to Toronto, and we see Jakob Poeltl and DeMar DeRozan taking their talents to San Antonio. It'll be down in
Wild
the Red
Wild
River Walk.
West.
Yeah, in the Wild Wild West. Stay tuned. We got a lot more coming up. We're going to show you some highlights of Kawhi Leonard in his last time in the Spurs jersey and DeMar DeRozan in his last time in a Raptors jersey. A lot more to talk about. WNBA All-Stars. We'll give our 5 starting lineup from WNBA right now. We'll talk about the Dream, the Atlanta Hawks, and a lot more. Check this out and stay tuned. You're tuned in right now. These Urban Times and Live Hip Hop Daily present Sideline Stories.